Hello, everybody. Before I say anything, I want to see if I'm streaming or not. Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Not live yet. I think we're live. Okay, we're live. Woohoo! Just close it. Yes! I want to bring this down. Okay. Hey everyone! What is up? Again, it's just me talking to myself. It is 17th September, 7:15. Because I wanted to stream yesterday. I didn't stream yesterday. And the reason for that is like the reason for that is I actually wanted, like, few of my friends, Dinesh and Banu, they wanted to like play some games on the stream, and I tried to set that whole thing up, and actually, like I said, made all scenes in OBS, but when I hit start streaming, it wasn't working yesterday. So that was a bit disappointment for yesterday. But another bad news is Dinesh found out about this channel. I didn't want to tell it to anybody until I get comfortable with myself talking on the screen, but I couldn't just keep my mouth shut, and I told him, and he's been giving me a bad time for that, but that's not the point. Actually, I don't have much that I wanted to do today, but I thought maybe I'll just come here and see what I can be doing with. So let's get started. Let's get started by writing an agenda. Start with Notion. So this is all done, right? And I was thinking maybe I can just keep adding stuff to it. I can have like September 15th and keep using this as my to-do list, but I feel not that great. Maybe I should keep everything in my Notion. I actually have Notion for a bunch of my pages, uh, and I don't think this is like very properly organized. This is like, it's too clunky, I feel, and maybe I will do a bit of redesign here. And but before that, I think let's just start with this. Let's So anyways, I want this like, at least for now, I think we can use this for uh, putting down thoughts and agenda for the day. And today is, maybe a little bit today. Just say date. I guess that is it. So Dave, what do we want to do? So I have some news. Let me see if I can add it in here. Have some news. Let me show you guys the news. The news is this is the news. I recently got promoted, and obviously need to get some LinkedIn cloud. So maybe make a promotion post on LinkedIn. Actually, I don't want to like post on LinkedIn, but I want to like draft it. Maybe I'll take a picture with my manager tomorrow or day after, and then like post it on closer to Thursday or Friday. Actually, tomorrow is Thursday, so maybe tomorrow or day after. So that is one. I wanted to learn about Iceberg Tables. I also wanted to do a couple of posts that I want to check on how people use AI. There was an article that was out recently by ChatGPT and Claude that on how people use AI. Maybe that would be an interesting read. So that is also something that I want to do. Is there anything that I want? Yeah, a long-term plan is I want to. So currently I have my portfolio. This is my portfolio. Actually it's actually hosted on the internet, so anybody can see this. And I don't think this is like a very clean representation in first place, and also this is like super outdated. So I think uh, I mean, I definitely should. I want to update my personal website. So that is the third thing. Start working on the personal website. I don't think we'll do it today, but okay, I think this is like good enough things to do today. We can get started. I actually do have a little bit of idea for this, so maybe we'll start with that. I want to turn this into a page. Okay, let's go. Happy to announce now. I don't think this is like, obviously we'll use ChatGPT to restructure it and all, which long term goal one day I don't want to be using ChatGPT for writing that's it anywhere. I use it very much currently, and I don't like that. So one day I want to stop doing that. I don't want to write that. It's, Play some music. Forgot about it.
I fall in love too easily.
You. It's photo in
I
your
fall
I mean, it's
in
nice, but.
love too fast.
I want to cheap it this a bit, but I don't want to show you guys my font yet. I'm not too shy like that. So I'll just switch to set typeface. think this is fine. Have some have something that I think I'm good. I think I have something that I'm like happy with. Sorry, I'm not here. Why is this thing? Shit. Alright. This is the rabbit I'm going where I'll not don't want to show you guys because I think it's although I want to publicly post it tomorrow, I don't want to show you guys today. And there is no guys today. I'm hallucinating. But I will mark this as done. Not mark it as done. Let's start reading about Iceberg Tables. I don't like this music. I have listened to a great song today. I want to Okay. I think let's study for 20 minutes. I will reset the timer.
I think the best definition of iceberg right now. I think the best definition of iceberg right now in this moment is iceberg is an open standard for tables, large scale, big data tables, the kind that we're all used to working with. But crucially, it is with SQL behavior. I think that one of the biggest stumbling blocks for the big data ecosystem and movement in the last decade has been that we accidentally compromised SQL behavior a long time ago and never really restored it. And that's why we've had such a deeply hard time working with data, building reliable pipelines, and actually doing things that are important for companies. So the central idea behind Iceberg, if I was to sum it up, is really that what if we applied data engineering, like database fundamentals, to this table problem? What would that look like? It looks remarkably like what we had in 1992. It's tables that work as an abstraction. So you don't have to care about what's underneath the table, and you really shouldn't care about what's underneath the table. So what we're really saying is that to most users, to consumers, Iceberg should be almost completely invisible. Yes, it dictates a lot of capabilities, but when was the last time you went to Postgres or some other similar database like MySQL and you cared deeply about whether you were using MyISAM or the other one, right? I can't even name it. So you really care about the capabilities as a whole, but you don't want to care about the minute details. If you do, then you're a DBA, and we don't want everyone to be DBAs anymore. So Iceberg has sort of this philosophical principle of it should be invisible, and that really comes out in two ways. We don't want unpleasant surprises. Unpleasant surprises are things like you make a simple change to your table and then you've corrupted all of your data for all time and have to clean it up. That's a pretty unpleasant surprise. The second one is a little more subtle. It's not correct, we shouldn't have correctness bugs, but it is, we don't want to steal people's attention. And I think this is really the fundamental place where we've failed in the last 10 years, making it so that you had to care very deeply about things like file layouts and the capabilities. How large this table is going to be in 3 years when you create the table and you're just trying to get everything up and running. So I'm from Netflix. Not sure how many people have heard of it. Video streaming on demand company. Oh, thank you, great. Oh, my view is different. All right, I'm here to talk about Apache Iceberg. I work on Netflix's big data compute team. We work on all of the open source projects that make up our big data platform. So things like Spark, Parquet, Iceberg now, as well as the Hadoop Presto infrastructure that we use. So my team sort of spans all of those projects. And I've actually contributed myself to quite a few of them. I'm a Parquet committer, Avro committer, and Spark committer as well. Which means I've probably littered bugs into most of the code that you guys use, so sorry about that. So we're gonna start off by talking just a little bit about the goals that we had for the Iceberg project, or really what motivated us to create Iceberg in the first place. I think that I don't want to drop too big of a bombshell here at the end of the day, but what we found was most of our data engineers did not want to rewrite their SQL queries and reorder joins by hand. I know, I find it fun. They also didn't really want to tune their Parquet files. They didn't like going in and figuring out what block size to use or what dictionary page size is best for their data. They largely wanted to work on, strangely enough, getting new data sets in to satisfy their customers, and they wanted our platform to just work and continue getting better. And it was really kind of strange, but we decided to just run with it. And we set some goals for like the next 5 years, and this was a couple years ago, for where do we see our platform going? And really what we came to were a lot of pretty high level initiatives for saving data engineers a lot of their time. Because again, on the one hand, they don't really care about join reordering unless it's slowing down their pipelines. And we're the ones on the data platform side that care about efficiency. They also don't really want to go sort their data and prepare it for the next level in the pipeline unless they absolutely have to. So we came up with, the direction of our data platform is that we should make all of those things more automatic, easier, and just speed up and make things better transparently, ideally without any interaction from our data engineers. But a problem at the time was that we were playing essentially whack-a-mole with this cobbled together architecture that is Hadoop and Presto and all of the other projects that make up the data warehouse. So we had unsafe operations just everywhere. If you're writing to Hive tables, chances are if you're writing to multiple partitions at once, that's not an atomic operation. In fact, you might, if you're overwriting a partition, you might delete a whole bunch of data and then hopefully replace it. There are just edge cases and sharp corners everywhere in these systems. Even something as simple as renaming a column is not a safe operation. It works in some systems, but if you rename like a CSV column, everyone's happy. If you rename a Parquet column, chances are you just broke a whole bunch of stuff. And then you have to detect it, come to us, and we say, oh yeah, you can't rename columns. And then you have to go fix it and backfill data, and it's an endless, really terrible process. We also are dealing with the fact that running natively on an object store like S3 causes a lot of major headaches. A lot of them we've solved, but when we solve one problem, it causes another. So we got atomic commits through our S3 committers, but then what we ended up with was not being able to actually append data across partitions in our tables, which was a very surprising behavior for our users. Then we also have endless scale challenges. So what we decided to do was take a step back and look at both these long-term challenges as well as the whack-a-mole problem. Sorry, I went back a slide. You don't have to, you don't have to take pictures. We wanted to find what is the underlying problem that is causing all of these things. And what we found was it's essentially the table format. The main problems with working with an object store are that we do things like list files and directories and rename things in order to keep files out of those directory listings and on and on. And we found out that the table format itself was the bottleneck and what was causing all these problems and preventing us from building the data platform that we think we're gonna need. So that brings us to Iceberg. Well, what is Iceberg? It's a scalable data format for tables that has basically a lot of best practices built in. And those best practices come from lots of smarter people that figured out long ago in database land that you don't track columns either by position or by name. You use a unique ID, right? So that you can have safe schema evolution with no side effects. If I rename a column, it actually gets renamed instead of changing the data in that column or only reading nulls. So what do I mean by format when I'm talking about a table format? That's kind of a weird thing, and most people think of a Parquet table or an Avro table or an Orc table. Why am I talking about a format here? Well, what I'm talking about is really a table format. This is how do we manage a collection of files as this higher level abstraction we call a table. Now, most of the time we do it implicitly with Hive tables. So a good way of thinking about what a table format is and what we can do with a table format is to compare it to file formats. A file format really helps you track and modify or ignore a lot of data that's already in a file. So Parquet is a columnar file format. And because we organize the data in big chunks of columns, you can read individual columns from the file seeking without reading all the other data that you don't need, right? Table formats are similar. How do we figure out which files we need from this table and ignore the rest of the files? Well, let's see how Hive tables do that. So the key idea behind a Hive table is to simply organize all of our data into a directory tree structure. I'm sure you guys have all seen this in your data warehouses or data lakes, I think is the current term. So Hive organizes all the data files in a directory tree. And that way, when I say, I want 2018, looks like May 13th, 7 p.m., I can go to that directory and list it, figure out what files are in that partition, and then just read those files, allowing me to ignore all the rest of the files in hour 18 or hour 20. And then this causes some problems. So what we end up with is we have to go list all the directories to figure out what days are there, and then we have to list directories to figure out what hours are there, and then we have to list directories to figure out what files are there. And we thought, that's too much directory listing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put half of this in a database. So we'll take all the directories themselves, stick that in a database we'll call the metastore, and then we'll just go and list all of the directories that are leaves in this tree structure. Now, this is pretty much the state of the art when it comes to the Hive table format. That's it. We can go figure out what directories exist, go list those directories, and then read all the data from all the files in those directories. Then we can use file formats, and it's great that we can use Parquet to skip row groups and things like that. But as a table format, this is basically state of the art. But I would argue that this is actually much more like CSV is to a file format as the Hive table format is to table formats. Because there's a lot that we're doing here that, this is just a very primitive, very difficult to work with structure, and it doesn't help us in a number of ways that it actually should. So first of all, if we look at problems with this, we're keeping state in two places. We're keeping state in a metastore, which keeps track of all our partitions. Then we're also keeping state in a file system. And we can't either, it's difficult to parallelize all these file system operations. We might have to list 1,000 directories to figure out all of the files that we need to read for a single query. And we also can't actually do more intelligent things. So we can't get atomic commits if we have to make 1,000 files in our table live at the exact same moment. So this is the key insight behind why we thought we needed to make a new table format. This is just too primitive for us to even get atomicity when we're writing to these tables, so we need something better. That something better is what we hope will be Iceberg. But before we introduce Iceberg, I want to talk just a little bit about what Hive did really right. If you've seen my talks on Iceberg before, I didn't used to do this, but
I will move this to tomorrow as well. I think in terms of priority, it should look like this. I think this is okay. Let me try to conclude this stream. I haven't been able to do a lot. I think these are only the two items that I could work on today. This is definitely an interesting watch. I feel I'll focus on this tomorrow. Maybe I'll read this too at a high level tomorrow. I don't think this is that useful though. This is something to check out, and I don't think this is something that I will start working on in recent times, but it's just out there. Yeah, I think that's about that. Finished with today's 1 hour. Consistency. I haven't actually run today, so maybe tomorrow I'll go for a run too. Tomorrow I actually have to go to office and there are like a lot of calls in the evening. So tomorrow's going to be a busy day. I might not stream, but I really want to. It's not a priority, but I think this is a good time to take a pause. Yep. Thanks a lot everyone. There's no everyone, it's just me. But thanks Sandeep for streaming.